The opinions expressed in this video reflect the opinions of the participants only and do not reflect the opinions of the producer or Yale Law School. Yale Law School and/or Yale University in no way endorse this video. Yale Law School traces its origins to an apprenticeship system in a New Haven, Connecticut lawyer's office in the early days of the 19th century. From these humble origins, it has become arguably the most influential school of law in the nation. Yale is consistently ranked number 1 by the U.S. News & World Report and generally in the top 3 in all rankings. Yale has a storied history, including a professorship from former President William Howard Taft, and 2 former presidents, Gerald Ford and Bill Clinton, are alumni. Yale Law School is also unique in its modified credit-no-credit system, small class size of about 200 students a year, and its student-faculty ratio of 7.5 to 1. Yale also has a noted scholarly bent, with approximately 4% of graduates immediately pursuing careers in academia and 38% taking judicial clerkships. Let's meet some students.
My name is Devon Collins. I'm from Chicago. I'm a 2L here at Yale, and I'm 25.
I'm Alex Roberts. I am from Boston. I did my undergrad at Dartmouth College. I was an English major. I got my master's at Stanford the following year, also in English, and then I started a PhD program. I ended up dropping out of that and not finishing the PhD, and I worked as a paralegal in Orange County, California for 2 years, and now I'm a first year here at Yale.
Okay, I'm Brandon Birdwell. I'm from Portland, Oregon originally. I'm a 2L at Yale Law School, and I was an undergraduate at Pomona College in LA.
My name is Rosa Pizzi. I am a second-year student at Yale Law School.
My name is Rohit. I'm an LLM student from India, and I'm doing my master's at law at the Yale Law School. I can give the bar exam. I'm eligible to do that in New York, California, a bunch of states.
Yale is the most difficult law school in the country to gain admission to. How did you get in?
I think it's just kind of a luck of the draw thing, you know. I mean, as I understand it, it's professors, you're sort of passed around to professors, and it's, you know, whether you happen to strike a chord with that particular people, because, you know, with people who review your application. I'm glad it worked out for me, but I can't say exactly why.
Why do you want a law degree? Why do you want to be a lawyer?
I'm looking to study further. I want to teach law, so I'll probably be applying for my PhD program here at Yale. But I'd like to know American constitutional law, amongst other things, because I think that's really interesting. And I'd like to teach comparative constitutional law.
I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm done. I hope to eventually enter the public interest field somehow. But I think the sort of academic side of it draws people here because I think they feel like they'll get to explore issues, actually explore issues and explore policy as opposed to just exploring like the individual cases. So I think people like that even if they don't want to be academics. I also think that what I just said, a lot of people come here because they have an interest in serving others. So I think there's a strong component to that. People feel that way here. It's a good feeling.
My interest in the law actually stems a lot from the Peace Corps. I was in the Peace Corps after college, and I got interested in international affairs and public policy and economics and things like that. And so I went to law school as hopefully a functional way of dealing with those topics. I mean, the nice thing about the law is that you have, you know, it's a very versatile career, and you have the opportunity to move between things a lot, and to, you know, move to government, move to private sector, move to, you know, and move around as you like, which is really attractive, especially in this, you know, these days when they say people change careers 10 times, you know, before they're 30 or something like that. So.
I'm doing a lot of exploring right now and trying to narrow down. There are a few fields that I'm interested in, and they really kind of cut across from the public service to the big firm corporate stuff. I spent a lot of time doing intellectual property, but more on the patent side when I was paralegaling. So I would love to pursue trademark and copyright kind of stuff, but I also am doing some work right now with juvenile justice and what's going on in the state of Connecticut, where they prosecute everyone over 16 as adults. Not exactly sure where I'll end up. I wanted to keep the option of being an academic open, but I'm already finding that I don't think that's where I'll end up. So I think that I know I would love to clerk for a judge, and I think I'll take a firm job at some point, at least for a few years, because I have a lot of debt. And other than that, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. At first I thought academia, but this past summer I interned at the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I really found I liked practicing. So now I think I would like to actually practice as a lawyer. maybe do litigation, private or government capacity.
Why Yale Law?
What they tell us is 10% of all law professors are Yale graduates. And though even, if you look at the number of students passing out of law school, Yale only has about 1% of that. So it's a huge proportion of Yale students teaching out there. And they're very focused on academics and research at the law school. There are lots of opportunities to work on your own projects with professors.
I decided to come here because of the small class size, I guess. Just sort of also the class structure of the school. We have a different type of curriculum. We only have one real semester of required courses, and after that you have a lot more freedom in selecting classes. So you can take a clinic, for instance, your second semester, as opposed to waiting until your third year or something. Those are probably the two biggest reasons why I decided to come here.
I chose Yale mainly because they don't have normal grades and there are a lot of public interest people here, and it's supposed to be the best sort of law school experience you can get. So that's what I was looking for.
I love it here. Two big factors for me were the small class size and that there are really no grades, especially in the first semester, and that really cuts down on competition. Everybody's very helpful and good about talking to each other and working together, and there just isn't that cutthroat environment that you get in other places.
Yeah, the size was one thing. I knew I didn't want to go to a larger law school like Harvard or some of the other law schools. So for me, it's between schools like Yale or Stanford, kind of small, more of a high school feel. You really know your class. What else? Yeah, there definitely is more of an academic feel. I remember visiting the school during Admit Students Weekend, and you get that feel. You write more papers. A lot of people consider academia as a profession, and that was attractive to me. I felt I clicked with the students here.
How accessible do you find the faculty to be?
They're there if you show initiative for the most part. For example, I was really interested in one professor here, Professor Amar. I approached him after class and said, I would like to, work with you if possible, see how you approach academia. And I was able to do that. And I think most people are able to do it. They can approach a professor that they're really interested in, they've taken a class that they heard of, and do work with the professor. Maybe not paid work or anything like that, but so that's interesting. I'm not sure, I don't know how accessible professors are at other law schools.
There's a huge range of teaching styles, and just in the 4 classes that I'm taking right now, 4 people who could not be more different. But it's definitely, the small class size is awesome. And I think there's a real opportunity to get to know people. They also are great about having events at their homes. They'll have parties for their classes. Just about all the professors, I think, will have everybody over, or they'll take everybody out. One of my professors is actually a Second Circuit judge, and he sits in New York once in a while, and then another of our professors in my small group organized a trip. So last week we went to New York and we got to go see my torts professor presiding over the court, and then we all just kind of socialized as a group. We went out with my other professor, we had dinner, so there's a lot of opportunity for that, which is nice because you get to kind of know your teachers as people.
Calabresi teaches a first-year session every year, so I had him for my first semester, and I mean that's depends on the professor how accessible they choose to be, but I mean they all teach, they all have to do something, so and then the degree to which they involve themselves beyond that is more of a personal thing, I guess. But yeah, I mean in general, if you take some initiative and know that you want to work with someone or talk to someone, it's pretty easy to do.
Most of my classes are about 10 to 12 students, the upper year classes. So that's a really good ratio for most law schools.
I would like to see more minority faculty. I think that's probably one of the only things you're going to get if you go to a different school, like in a bigger city. I think you'll see a lot more minority faculty. So if that's important to people, that's something to consider. Other than that, I've found the faculty to be fantastic. For the most part, we also have fairly small classes, so the teachers know who you are. Even if you don't have conversations, people at least know your names. It's pretty nice, so it's good.
How does the teaching style differ from what you're used to?
It's a lot more participative. They encourage students to respond. They use, like, one of my classes, I mean it's strange for law school, but the professor uses a lot of movies to, it's a class on work and employment, and she uses a lot of films to lead the class discussion and make interesting points. Students are often asked to lead classes themselves, and you learn a lot through doing that. The papers you write are often reviewed by your classmates and you get feedback on it, so it's very interactive.
Are law journals a big part of student life?
It's lovely that there's no requirement to grade on and you can get on in other ways, and then all of the journals except for the main one are open to first years. So I joined one which is the Journal of Law and Humanities, which actually gets people from various schools because you have PhDs in humanities and you have people doing joint degrees. One of the women who is on the masthead right now is doing a JD and a PhD in history, and then you get some of the LLMs, I think. So I thought that that was going to be an interesting viewpoint and maybe good for me with my background. But I knew going into law school that I was going to look to get on a journal anyway, just because I'm a writer and I couldn't leave that behind entirely, and that's important to me.
The main journal is the Yale Law Journal, which is extremely competitive to get onto, but there are a number of others looking at specific areas of law. I think most of the student bodies in one journal or the other, and I mean the kind of people writing into them, I mean the best law professors in the country write in for these journals. So you have Yale Law School professors and Harvard Law School professors getting published in these journals, which students are working on. So it's an incredible experience. You learn a whole lot just from being on the board.
Can you describe your fellow students?
People are competitive, but they're not competitive. They're not cutthroat. I mean, people compete more. I think internally by driving themselves to try and do better, because you don't have that kind of thing where people won't share notes, people won't discuss things that might give someone an advantage. I mean, that kind of thing is pretty much cut out completely, and that's great, but that's not to say that people don't work hard and try and do the best they can. The great thing about the place is that there are a lot of people who do who take initiative and have done things before and are going to be leaders in the future, because that's kind of the attitude they have, and that's what they want to do. And I think that's if there's anyone quality that I think the school looks for when they admit people, it's people who are trying to do something special and do something different, and that's one of the things that makes the place great.
Of course, really smart. But the nice thing is they have diverse backgrounds. A good chunk I took 2 years off before coming here, and a lot of students did that as well in my class. I think that's common with Yale. And so, so the background that people come with is different. What they did in the past 2 years. Some may have gone to Oxford, others traveled. A lot of people worked. One of my classmates was a principal in elementary school. So it's and that's nice. Really gives something to talk about.
People here are probably the best thing about the school. It's small, so it does feel small, but you end up knowing everyone, and everyone in my class is pretty great.
It's very diverse. There's a huge number of international students, even within the JD student body. There are people from every state, large variety of backgrounds, and everyone comes in with a wealth of experience. I believe someone in the freshman year served in the Iraqi administration under Paul Bremer. There's an Olympic rower there. People from people who've done all kinds of things. It's intimidating at times to just see what your classmates have done before coming here.
How do you find it socially?
Socially, it's actually pretty good. It's a small place, so it's got the kind of small school dynamic. But I think the people are amazing, really great people, and I've been very happy with that so far.
Is international law a focus at Yale?
Different schools have a different bent that you find applied across the faculty and across the topic areas, and so maybe at Chicago or other places, law and economics. And right here, right now, I would say it's everybody in all the different fields is giving at least some thought to international approaches to law.
Well, some of the schools have larger international law departments, but Yale has 2 or 3 faculty who are top of the field. Michael Riesman, who teaches international law, in fact, Yale has a different, there's something called the Yale School of International Law, which is different from how the other international law taught in the other places. And Michael Riesman is one of, if you could name the top 3 international law professors in the US, he would be one of them. So that's a strong component. Also, there are a number of clinics which work on international human rights and public international law, which let students do hands-on work with IL, which a lot of other places don't have. So that makes the experience richer. But if you look at the number of courses, they're probably, in terms of the number of courses offered, there are probably fewer courses than other law schools.
How do you like New Haven?
I wish I knew what New Haven was really like. I thought it was a great location for me because it's near New York and near Boston. That's where all my people are, but not what I thought it would be, and I don't feel safe here a lot of the time, which is different, not what I'm used to. And we're advised not to walk alone pretty much ever, and especially after like 5 or 6 p.m., which is not that convenient.
I mean, New Haven's okay. I'm from a big city, so I prefer a bigger city, but New Haven actually has quite a few nice restaurants, which helps. I love the university, the architecture. This past year, the crime has been more of a problem in New Haven than first year. A few more muggings on campus, so that's kind of troublesome. But other than that, it's a fine town. And I was here over the summer too for the U.S. Attorney's Office. And the town tries really hard. They have lots of festivals, activities this summer. I mean, so I give the town an A for effort.
New Haven is a small city. There's places to go out. I think people get together fairly regularly. I'd say the majority of people go out at least once or twice on a weekend, sort of Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. A lot of people go out more. People tend to get together in small groups a lot. But yeah, there's big parties and big events. So yeah, people go out. People aren't studying all the time. They take time to do social activities, whether it's going out or just getting together for sports or something like that.
It's a nice city. It's small, it's intimate, it's easy to get around. I went to New York and I was fairly intimidated by the size of the place, and this is much more easy to get used to. They're very nice eating places. It's quiet at night, but I mean, I'm not much of a night out guy, so that's okay for me.
Yes, we get an email from campus security practically every week. And the last one was pretty early, like 5 p.m. near the grocery store near the Shaws. A sophomore undergrad was attacked by 2 teenagers.
But New Haven, if you look hard enough, I mean, there's some good restaurants, there's some good art, there's some fun places to go, so it's not a bad place to live.
Do you have time to get to New York City often?
Some people do. I mean, I have a couple classmates who actually live in the city for various reasons, they're married, for instance. But I personally, I fly out of New York a lot sometimes if the prices are cheaper, but I don't really get down there for entertainment purposes. And so, and plus, I mean, I like shows, operas, that kind of thing. But I usually reserve those when I'm back home in Chicago, then I get my fill of that.
It's cold and it's not New York, so it is nice to be able to hop on the Metro North and get into the city for shopping or a museum or just to get away from the school for a while.
Do you find Yale expensive? Is housing expensive?
I mean, law school anywhere is expensive. Yale is expensive. They also have fantastic financial aid opportunities. So I'd advise people who are looking at law schools to really look at the fine print of things like the public interest assistance. So when you graduate, Yale does supplement you in repaying your loans, and it has a fantastic program for that. I think arguably the best program of loan repayment, the best loan repayment program. So that's really something that people should read the fine print on when they're applying to law school. Like, see what happens if you have a baby. See what happens if you see if there's a time limit or a certain amount of time that you'll have to be working for lower pay or something. But yeah, the financial assistance here. So I think it is a lot, but there's ways to deal with that with grants and loans, and probably the most phenomenal financial aid director ever. So she's great.
So, I mean, it's not cheap. I mean, at least, it can be if you live, a little further afield in some of the kind of sketchier areas of New Haven. The price will drop a couple of $100s.
Do you need a car?
No, you can get around in New Haven I don't have a car. I just walk around most of the time. There's a very good transportation service which Yale offers. In fact, due to security concerns, at night, the Yale Law School shuttle will pick you up from anywhere in the city and drop you at anywhere in the city. So you can get around in town without a car.
No, I don't have a car. I mean, it would be helpful, but for example, going to Costco's or something like that. But no, usually someone has a car, so you can, share expenses if you need to.
I don't have a car. I don't think I need one, but some people find it more convenient because you can go to better grocery stores and things like that.
Do you get interesting speakers?
We get all kinds of great people in, and if you just walk through the law school, there are flyers everywhere and a lot of exciting stuff is going on. It's hard to make it because there's a lot more class time. One thing I didn't realize about maybe law school in general is it's a lot of time in class first semester, and so not a lot of downtime. So that downtime is kind of precious and you use it to do your work, but the stuff that jumps out at you and that really speaks to you, you'll definitely go do. And we have, there's a big focus on international and transnational legal theory and just looking at how they do it elsewhere instead of keeping everything in the US so insular. So a lot of the people that come in will be, Supreme Court justices from Germany, Italy, whatever it is, and you get a fascinating different perspective on just how basic issues and ideas are handled.
Tell us about your LLM program.
Yale has the smallest LLM program in the country. There are about 22 to 25 students in each year. If you're getting in, you have to be fairly sure that you're looking to do something. If you're very serious about academic research, if you're you're willing to put in that kind of time and effort. If you're looking at applying, and it's also important to note that Yale has a very interdisciplinary approach to law, which means they teach law using economics, sociology, and a lot of other fields. So a lot of people who are used in their home countries to very pure theories of law might find this new and different, so you should be prepared for it if you're coming here. Otherwise, give it your best shot.
How heavy is the workload?
Yeah, the thing that's most shocking, the biggest change, is how much time you spend in class. And that's probably the biggest difference from, say, an undergraduate, especially an undergraduate in something like English or politics, which I majored in. I had very little class as a junior and senior, and then you come your first semester and I was in class all the time. And the reading first semester is very heavy, but I think once you're able to choose your own classes, you can balance your schedule better. Like you can choose to do a clinic, you can choose to do a class that requires you to take a paper, you can take a seminar so that you're doing more reading than other assignments. So once you can pick your own classes, it's really easy, I think, to balance the amount of work you have.
I guess it's law school, so it's a lot of reading and then a lot more reading, and and then it changes. I'm in my second year now, so you get to do more things like clinics and projects like that, and that actually you get to feel like you're not just in school so much. But there's I think another thing that's characteristic about people here is that they tend to keep pretty busy, and there are enough things going on that it's it's very easy to overcommit yourself to various projects.
Well, it depends. You can pretty much, after your first term, where you have compulsory courses, you can decide how much work you have to do. But most of your classes require for 2 hours of class, you have to put in 6 to 7 hours of reading. It's a fair amount of work. But yes, that's why you're here.
Yale operates in a modified pass-fail system. How does this affect the school?
It goes back to the no grades thing. There's not that level of stress because I think it's kind of assumed that we'll figure it out as we go along, and so there's not that from day one, how do I brief and how do I outline, what do I need to know, where do I need to be. Again, teachers, some are bigger on the Socratic method and will kind of give it to you right from day one, but a lot of them are a lot more laid back.
It's great. It's great, especially the first semester. You don't have a lot of pressure, and I think in general, they say there's no grading system, but there is a grading system, and it effectively works like most law schools. But the attitude that there isn't a grading system, although it doesn't quite match up with reality, is great because it does take a lot of the pressure off, and that's, I think, one of the things that most people hate about law school when they go to law school. And not to worry about that is ideal. It makes for a great atmosphere.
People are collegial. People here are smart, so they're going to push themselves anyways to do their best. So the grades just sort of put the focus more on doing your best rather than doing better than others. And I think that's what happens at Yale. I think.
I like the grade system. It's pass-fail the first semester, and then after that, it's kind of a modified pass-fail system. Of course, it definitely fosters that sort of benign neglect kind of atmosphere. You really do what you want. You're off the treadmill, and you're only competitive with yourself and what you want to do. If you want to do the law firm thing, you can do that. If you want to do academia, there are different ways you distinguish yourself. So the whole traditional criteria of law school, moot court, law review, that sort of thing doesn't really apply here. And I don't think every school could do it. Maybe only a couple very small schools, but yeah, it works for us. I like it. So.
Do you think there are any future presidents at Yale Law now?
Probably. Probably, at least some future judges, some future Congress people, so yeah.
In my class? I think so, but I won't say their name.
What advice do you have for prospective students looking at law schools in general, and Yale in particular?
I was definitely glad I waited and took a couple years off and figured out that this was really what I wanted to do, partly because it's intense and you want to know once you get there that it's where you want to be, partly because of the massive debt load. So if you're halfway through or all the way through and you find you don't really want to take a firm job or be a lawyer at all, you're in some trouble. And partly because it helps you get into a better school. I doubt I could have gotten into Yale right out of Dartmouth. I think I was too young and too inexperienced. And I'm glad that I bring a little more maturity now that I'm here.
I'd say to go visit, to talk to people who've graduated from there. What else? I'd say to take a closer look at what type of classes you'll be able to take and how your curriculum will be arranged. That's my roommate.
Yale's process, 3 professors read applications and they vote, which I think is different from law schools. And you write 2 personal statements for Yale, and so I think that if you pay a lot of attention to your personal statements for Yale in particular, approach it sincerely, earnestly, that I think you have a much better chance than, I mean, of course, you need high LSAT scores and that kind of, GPA, that sort of thing.
People applying to law school, make sure that you've thought about the decision and make sure that you have some commitment to actually being a lawyer, because I think that's something that people tend to discount when they start to go to law school. But it is actually what you become when you finish law school for the most part, so that's good to keep in mind. And I mean, here, I don't know, it's the same as it would be for any law school. I mean,
But Yale's pretty much a kind of benevolent neglect kind of atmosphere, so you can really do your own thing, so I think that encourages happiness, because if you want to be really academically competitive or work in clinics or save the world or whatever you want to do, you can do it, and the school kind of has a hands-off approach.
Do you have anything to add?
Yale, specifically Yale Law, is very liberal, and you have a lot of people excited to give back or citing kind of an obligation to give back and help those who are less fortunate. And it's a little funny when you run into the occasional conservative and see the attitudes that they're met with, or just how much they stand out, I guess.
One thing about having a small school is that you tend to know the administrators, you know the deans, and if you really have a legitimate gripe, you can actually go to them and they'll respond to you in some substantial way, not just like, oh, we'll write that down and get to you later. So that's important.
It's a really interesting, diverse group of students. I'm very lucky to be here. Everybody's very bright and they have a lot to say.
It's a brilliant place, so yeah, you should come.